Come on, little buddy. Let's go. Oh, look at that. And drop the feet down so it won't roll away from us. And this one right over here. Right, buddy? You gonna help me? All right, cool. Today's average video, we are finally getting back to Mrs. Average Joe's DIY Yixiang battery box right here. Basically, she put it together like a couple of months ago, and we intended on getting the BMS all set up, but we just haven't done that quite yet, you know, because of things. So that's what we're gonna do today, is learn how to set up the BMS, because I've never had a JK inverter BMS or just a JK-BMS in general, so all of that's gonna be new to me. So I figure we could kind of learn together. And then after that, we will charge it up, probably do a couple of capacity tests and see how we fare. All right, quick recap is this is a DIY battery box from Yixiang. Basically, you get the entire box. It's already built, and all you have to do is put in the cells that you choose. You could either buy some brand new ones from Yixiang, or you can use your own existing cells that you bought from somewhere else. So for this box right here, Yixiang did send out some brand new 314 amp hour Cornix brand cells, and those are pretty good cells. I do have those in a couple other batteries, and I haven't had any problems with those. But again, you can put basically whatever battery you like inside. And like I said earlier, this does have the JK inverter BMS inside, which I don't really know much about. So that's what we're going to kind of learn today. So of course, on the front, you can see we have a power button right on the top, and then we have our two positive and negative terminals. We're gonna get a big old beefy 200 amp circuit breaker right over here. And then right in the center, it's a little harder to see because of the light, but we get our screen. And then right below that, we're gonna get our on and off LEDs, state of charge LEDs, some dip switches, and then inverter communication, stuff like that. They also sent out their little rolly cart that's on the bottom right here, which has the 4 locking elephant feet style casters on the bottom. There is 2 handles on each side, but good luck lifting it because this weighs probably 300 pounds. And this is a stackable battery. You have these little latches right here, so if you do stack another battery on it, you can lock it down to the battery below it. On the side, they do have these little magnetic filter covers right there, so you can keep out bugs and all that kind of fun stuff out of the box. All right, that's a quick little overview of the battery. Let's work on the JK-BMS. All right, first things first, we'll go ahead and turn it on with the push of a button. And it's gonna start up, and we really can't do anything because there is an alarm, and the instruction booklet does say that it will come with an alarm, and that's just because it doesn't know what kind of batteries are in here, and you basically have to kind of set that up yourself. So we're going to download the JK-BMS app, privacy policy, blah, blah, blah. We'll agree to continue. It does need to find our position because of Bluetooth and all that kind of stuff, so we will allow, I guess, once this time. Boom, it's already doing its search, and it did find it, so I'm going to click on that, and I believe the initial password is 123456. Make a pair failure. Okay, so maybe it is 1234. 1234 is the password. All right, so we have all sorts of information on this page, which probably doesn't really mean much because we have to set it up. So we're gonna go to settings. We're going to put in a new password. Got my new password in there set. Hello there, future Average Joe. Now I'm popping in here because whenever I went through the settings at the beginning of the video, I didn't really understand all the settings. And now that it's a few days later, I have rewatched Andy's Off-Grid Garage video about all the settings. And I also found on the DIY Solar Power Forum some settings that some people have compiled. and I will put that up on the screen so you can see it. It kind of makes it a little easier to understand. Basically what I'm saying is I would look at this sheet right here and kind of maybe make your adjustments according to this. And I would also go watch Andy's video because he does a really good job of explaining everything kind of in detail, a little bit better than I would be able to, at least right now, because this is brand new to me. So I have adjusted my settings to what I like, and I'll just show you everything that I have changed in the BMS settings. But first, we'll take a look at this sheet on the computer. It also shows Andy's settings that he would use. It shows an example of some Global Power 314 amp hour cells, and I'm guessing the EVE MB31. So all around the 314 amp hour batteries. Okay, so we're just going to use this for an example to kind of explain everything, and then I'll show you what I've got kind of at the exact same time. Starting at the top, it's pretty self-explanatory. However many cells you have, the next one down is going to be the amp hours in capacity. Next one down is going to be your cell delta, or the difference between the highest and lowest cell. Mine was already set at 10 millivolts and I just left it right there. The next two down are for calibrating the voltage and amps, which you can adjust at really any time you want to. Under the advanced settings right down here is kind of where you're going to start changing some things. So the first one is start balance voltage. I have changed mine to 3.45. And that's basically what everybody else kind of recommends. I don't remember what it was set at, but I did end up changing that one. Next one down is your max balance current. That is for the active balancer inside the BMS. It's a 2 amp, so I just left it at 2 amp. Next one down is the cell over voltage protection. That's basically so you don't go over 3.65 volts per cell. I did not change that one. It was already set at 3.65. The next one down is the recommended charge voltage. Okay, so that is how high you want your battery pack to charge up. So this BMS is kind of weird. I like it because it has all these settings in there, but again, since it's brand new, it's a little tricky and hard to understand. So that one is the voltage per cell, and it is the recommended charge voltage. Okay, so depending on what voltage you want your entire battery pack to charge to and kind of be at 100% state of charge, that's this setting right here. So if you look at the sheet on the screen, they're saying 3.5 or 3.45, and then Andy recommends 3.45. Let me bring over the calculator right over here. Basically what you're gonna do is 3.45 times 16, okay? That's gonna be 55.2 volts. That's basically where you're gonna set your 100% state of charge whenever you reach 55.2 volts. I personally like to charge mine just a smidge higher. I like to go to 56.4 or maybe even slightly higher. The reason I like to do that is basically what I've always done from the very, very first lithium iron phosphate battery pack that I started testing. Is 56.4 volts just kind of worked out for me because that's at the higher end of the cell voltage, that part of the curve where it just starts to shoot up. In my opinion, that's just where it starts to balance a little bit better. Okay, so I set mine to 56.4 volts. So if I divide that by 16, I come out with 3.525, and that's what I have mine set inside the app right here for 3.525. And then the next couple down below that, state of charge at 100%, basically they're just saying to go down 0.1 millivolt for the next 3 down, okay? And that's what I did, okay? So the 100% state of charge, I've got it for 3.524, over voltage protection recovery. So once you hit that full charge and the battery pack starts to settle down a little bit, that's basically where it'll recover at, is 3.523. That's how it works in this app. It's a little weird, but that's how it works. Right below that is the under voltage protection recovery. Again, this all works kind of weird, but I've got mine set for 2.6. I believe it was set for 2.7. If you look at the sheet on the screen, they've got it for 2.65. Some people will set this a little bit higher. That way you still have a little tiny left in the battery when it says 0%. you still have a little bit left because you can go down to 2.5 volts per cell. I don't really like that very much. I want mine to be as accurate as possible, so whenever the cell is actually at 0% state of charge or really freaking close to it, I want it to reflect on the BMS app. So I have mine set a little bit lower at 2.6, and then the 0% state of charge, just like I was saying, I have that set on 2.51. And then right below that is the under voltage protection, which is 2.5 volts. Right below that is the power off voltage. You want it, basically you want everything to shut down if the battery reaches 2.49 volts, okay? That was, I think that one was already like that, so I just left it. The next one down, the voltage cell RFV. If we take a look at this sheet right over here, it says the recommended float charge voltage. Everybody says 3.45 or 3.4, and then Andy recommends 3.35. Okay, so if we do 3.35 times 16, the reason we kind of leave it at that one is because whenever you fully charge a battery or a cell up to 3.65 volts, and then you just kind of let it rest, its natural resting voltage is going to be that 3.35. Okay, so if we do that times 16, our float voltage is going to be 53.6 volts. Again, Andy goes through all of these in great detail. Basically, you come over to this page for the control, and you have a charge float mode right over here. You can turn that on or off if you want to use that option, okay? That kind of, those two settings kind of go back and forth with each other. Okay, anyway, next one down is the voltage smart sleep. Originally set on 3.5 volts, and I just left it at there. Right below that is the time smart sleep, which kind of goes along with that voltage smart sleep. That one is basically if your batteries are at 3.5 volts, it'll set a timer and nothing is happening on the battery. If it sits for 24 hours, it'll basically shut off. I'm not really sure what that's useful for, other than if you have a battery sitting over here for any length of time, you know, it'll automatically shut off, okay? Next one below that is your continued charge current. This one was already set for 200. I just left it at that because it is a 200 amp BMS inside. Right below that is the charge over current protection delay. If you hit 200 amps for 3 seconds, you know, it'll go ahead and shut off. And then there is a charge over current protection relay in time. It'll basically wait for 60 seconds and then it'll try again. If it still senses you're over the 200 amps, it's going to restart that cycle. Discharge over temperature protection. This one I did change. I don't remember what it was. It was pretty high. All I did is I went online and found the PDF for the cells inside these batteries right here. These are Cornix 314 amp hour cells. I looked at the PDF and looked at the recommended, you know, charge and discharge temperatures, and I set those numbers right in here into the BMS app. I would imagine most batteries are going to be real similar to this, but that's just the easiest way to do it, is look up your data sheet for your cells and set those in here. So mine are set to 55 degrees C, and the release is set 5 degrees C lower than that. So if the batteries get real hot, you know, it's going to have to cool off at least till 50 C in order for them to start going again. Same thing for the discharge under temperature protection. They have it listed in here weird, but the release is set to -20, but the protection is set for -30. That's discharging down to that temperature. Charging is obviously going to be just slightly different, but again, I have it for 55 C. So this one is, they've got it backwards again, so my brain works a little bit different. So the charge under temperature protection release is set for 5 degrees C. The actual protection is right below that, and that is set for 0 C. I did change that one. I don't remember what it was previously. Basically, you don't want to charge your batteries when they're freezing. It's got some heating, which this doesn't have any heating in there, so I didn't change any of that. The MOSFETs, I didn't change those either. And all these delays and stuff down here, I didn't do anything with those. And then user private data and user data number 2. Andy basically explained that that's not like anything that anybody sees or anything like that. It's basically kind of like the company's name and stuff like that, and you can put whatever you want in there. I can make this say Mrs. Average Joe, and then on data 2 I could just put like battery. Okay, you can put whatever you want in there. Right below that you're going to have your protocols. I didn't change any of those except for the CAN protocol. I changed that to 11, which is Lux Power, because that's what I have. Yeah, I don't think I changed anything else below that. There is some like dry contact triggers that you can change based on whatever you want, really. So dry trigger 1, they have it set for number 8. And that is over temperature, but you can change it to whatever you want, and you can have it do things. You know, you can have it turn on a fan, turn off a fan, turn on a light, maybe turn on a generator and turn off a generator, stuff like that. That's where you can kind of set that up in here. And then at the very bottom is your wire resistances that are basically in there. I don't really know what you need to do with those, so I just left those all the same. If we go over to the control tab, underneath here, I don't think I changed or enabled or disabled anything other than, oh, I did change the display always on. I turned that off because I don't really need it on. To turn the screen on while you're over there, you just tap the button once and it'll turn on. And I think I enabled the charging float mode. Okay, I didn't change anything else in here. Okay, so that's all the settings that I have inside of my battery right now. And again, I would either look at this little sheet right here and kind of base yours off of this, and or go watch Andy's video, which I will have both of these linked down below. Okay, let's get to the capacity testing. I tried rolling it, but I forgot I had put the feet down. I'm like, it won't move. So the casters do work, by the way. All right, now we're rolling. And the good thing is this thing rolls really, really good, honestly. I'll just park you right here. I got the casters pushed down so it's not going to move anywhere. We're going to charge this up with the EG4 6000 XP. Basically, we're gonna draw battery power from my battery bank over here and invert it, and then go through the eco-worthy battery charger, and this can charge up to 60 amps. This charger does work really, really well. I haven't had any problems with it, and this is the version 1, just FYI. I think they're actually on version 2 right now. All right, I don't know how long this is gonna take to recharge because we don't know the accurate percent state of charge. Time now is 1:10 p.m. and I'll be right back whenever it's done. Before we go, actually I was gonna do one thing, is I was gonna put the clamp meter on the wiring so we can check to see how much charge is actually going in. Right on here on my meter it says 59.73 or 71, and if we look at the app it's actually showing us 64. So I think I am going to adjust that, and that was back here in the calibration settings. So I'm actually going to, oh, verify password, hold on. So it's like right on 60.2 and hit OK. All right, so now we adjusted it, and down here it's showing 59.7. It's already changed a little bit, and up here it's showing roughly 60. So it's pretty darn close if you ask me now. Okay, now I'm gonna be right back. Alrighty, it is the very next day and we are full charge. It actually fully charged last night around 10 p.m. and then just a little while ago I put it on a 2 amp charge to kind of finish it off, and I think it just finished right now. So all the cells right now are above 3.62 volts. So we are fully charged and fully soaked. All right, so everything is looking really, really good. Next thing I'm going to do is get this set up for a capacity test, and the first one we're going to do is a 0.2C, which is around 62 amps. I am just going to reuse the eco-worthy charger right here because this one does a max of 60 amps and it's real close to that 0.2C rate. All right, got the Yixiang all set up for its capacity test. So we have it connected up to the EG4 6000 XP, and that is running over to the eco-worthy charger right here, which is connected up to this bank of batteries right here. I also have the Victron boom shunt connected, and I'm gonna try to set a reminder so I can be here whenever it shuts off. The only reason that would prevent me from not being here, as I do have a cat at the vet, and if they call and I have to go get him, then that's gonna happen. Okay, anyway, let's get this test started. So I have this right up on the screen. We're sitting at 57.8 volts. I did reset everything in the history, so we should be good to go. And I also updated the amp hours in the settings for 314, so we should, in theory, be good. That's on. And I'm just gonna full send it on this charger. And we're off. All right, so we're actually doing 66 amps. I am gonna lower that down a little bit. There you go, that's perfect. Perfect 2C rate. 62.8, 62.9. Alrighty, there we go. Capacity test started. Once this is done, in roughly 5 hours, I will be right back. All right, it's a few days later. I actually missed the first capacity test because I'll probably explain later. So this is capacity test number 2. All right, so we are sitting at 1% right now. We have done 306 amp hours right now, total, which is 15.7 kilowatt hour. And if I can switch over to the other app, I've renamed it to Mrs. Average Joe. All right, so in here on the previous capacity test, if we go by the BMS, hopefully I got a screenshot, but it was like 331 or 41. Cycle count number 2, and you can see cycle capacity is 666.1 and slowly rising. So we're just at the very, very end right meow. The actual cell delta is 51 millivolts. I will also flash up what I had on here for whenever this shuts off and you turn it back on and it doesn't remember everything. I'll flash that up on the screen as well. I'm pretty sure it was really low. If we take a look at the front up here, it actually says we have 2.8 amp hours remaining. We're gonna click on packs and battery. There's all the cell voltages in the pack. All right, we just hit the advertised 314 amp hours and 16.1 kilowatt hour. I'm pretty sure this is the largest capacity battery that I have right now. And this one is Mrs. Average Joe's battery. She put it all together without any of my help. We're also charging with solar right now and charging the batteries at 6,000 watts, plus running my house at 1.1 kilowatt. We're doing pretty good right now. 94% state of charge. Haven't been up that high in quite a while. 324, come on, you can do it. 324 amp hours, 16.5 kilowatt hour. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the very end. There it goes. No, take a screenshot. Alrighty, grand total was 324 amp hour, 16.6 kilowatt hour. This is literally the biggest capacity battery that we have at my house, and it's Lauren's, can you believe it? Okay, charging back up at 15 amps, and then whatever solar is gonna bring in once that gets settled down. Okay, well, I will get this charged back up and then we will do it again. Boom, very next day, got the battery all charged back up, and we're gonna be doing some kind of capacity testing, but more load testing to make sure this battery can handle the 200 amps that we're about to throw through it. All right, so behold the setup right here. It does say 84%, but don't look at that because I changed the amp hour capacity to 320 since we got, over that in the last capacity test yesterday. So this number is going to be off because it says I need to recalibrate it. So don't look at that. It is full charged. From there, we're going up to the 12,000 watt Lux Power inverter up here. I do have communications hooked up right over here, going to the battery, of course going through the Lux Power protocol. And then from the output of the inverter, I'm going to this small sub panel right here. The only reason I'm doing that is because I want 240 volts to go into these two L1430s right here, so we can power these two battery chargers right here. So we got the EG4 charge inverter right here, and we have the eco-worthy charger right here. So we can do 60 amps on here and up to 100 on there. And if we need to, I do have a couple of outlets right here that we can plug in a couple of heaters, if we need to. I do have the BOOM shunt hooked up right there as well. Got the BMS app opened up. It says we're sitting at 55.5 volts. I don't really know what else you need to see on here. You can see I changed the battery capacity to 320. Previously it was on 314 because we didn't really know how much it was going to be. So it's gonna say our remaining capacity is 84%, but I assure you it is fully 100% state of charge. Yeah, I don't really know what else you need to see from there. If you want to see the cell voltages, they're right there. Other than that, we can switch over to the BOOM shunt, and I have cleared out the settings in here as well. Okay, so we'll go to status, and how about we get this party started? Actually, I'm not sure if I have the inverter set up quite yet, but we'll find out here in just a second. All right, we'll go up here to the inverter. We'll flip on the breakers. BOOM inverter is turned on, but we're not showing the correct protocol. Boom, there we go. Inverter is communicating successfully. It says 84% state of charge. I had the settings correct, but I was in the wrong port down here. I accidentally went into the RS45 and I didn't realize it. I just had to move this over to CAN. Got the charge inverter set to 100 amps. All right, forgot to do that. Boom, load is on. While we're waiting for the charge inverter, I'm gonna go ahead and kick on the EcoWorthy. Get that one started. It's gonna get real loud here in a second with fans. Charge inverter is up to 45 right now. Currently, we're discharging, obviously, at 130 amps and climbing. So obviously, if I didn't explain it, we are dumping the battery capacity from Mrs. Average Joe's battery into the big battery bank right behind me. And a little bit over there. Boom, charge inverter is doing 95.1 amps, and the EcoWorthy is doing 59.5. Take a look up on here if you would like to see it. It's showing 201.4. Nice. We could check the amp rating right here, see how close it is. Showing 203.9, and then if you look right back there, we're showing 202. So we're like 1 to 2 amps difference. I would say that's probably not too bad. So the BOOM shunt is only showing 194.37. I don't know how I feel about that. All right, well, that's pretty much all I can do right now. Time now is 10:56 a.m. We've been running for 16 minutes. So I will let this go as long as it'll go, and I'll be right back. Unless something happens, then I'll be back sooner. Oh, there's actually one other thing I might have to do is change the inverter to lead acid so we can bring it all the way down to 42 volts because this might be set to switch off around 5 or 10% state of charge. Actually, I'm just gonna let it go and... Oh, okay. Well, we got an alarm and I wasn't recording on my phone, of course. Oh, discharge over current. We went over 200 amps for too long. So let me back that down just a little bit and we will try again. Charge inverter is at 94.9. We're at 192 on here, 194 on this one, and on here we're doing 185 or 9,288 watts. 50.28 volts, 192.6 amps. Okay, I will let this one go and see how long it actually goes. Alrighty, everything just shut down, and of course I missed the very, very end. So I don't know if it actually went all the way down to 0% state of charge or if the inverter did it. So let me shut everything off. We will turn that off and turn that back on. I'm gonna go over to the BOOM shunt and see what it says. It's probably not gonna give me an accurate number, just FYI. If I go into history, 248 if it remembered correctly. I am going to change the inverter back over to lead acid. All right, so the off-grid cutoff on the inverter was set for 5%, and that's going off of what the battery kind of thinks it is. But since I changed the capacity rating from 314 to 320, that's obviously off. So what I did for the inverter is just change it to lead acid real quick, and the voltage is set for 40 volts, and hopefully it'll shut off around there. So we'll just let this go again, and I might have to adjust the amp rating down a little bit so we don't go over the 200. But I guess the goal of this test was really to see if the battery can run roughly at the 200 amps, and it has done that no problem. All right, well, I'm just gonna let this continue and we'll see where we're at.
Moments.
According to the BOOM shunt, we only have 3 minutes left, which I think is a lie. Basically, we're going off of the voltage up here. We're at 48, and everything should shut off around 42-ish volts. So that's where we're at. If we want to look at the history right now, if this remembered the previous capacity when it shut down and everything is accurate, we're at 305 amp hours thus far, 15.3 kilowatt hour. But I do want to hop over here on the JK real quick. We're at 199 amps. I'm actually going to lower this one down just a little bit so we can stay under 200 amps, which I might even have to lower it down even more when the voltage starts going down a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if this capacity test is going to be accurate because I don't know if the BOOM shunt remembered what it was before. And I wasn't here during that time because I didn't think it was going to shut down. I was actually upstairs eating. I'm going to leave it on here so we can see it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to adjust the amperage down again. So I dropped it down, we're at 187 right now, and that should give me a little bit of room because when the voltage goes down, the amperage is gonna go up. So on here it says we're doing 179.6. Over here we're doing 188, which is quite a bit difference. I don't know if I trust the BOOM shunt anymore. On here it says we're doing 186.7. On there it says we're doing 190. So if the BOOM shunt actually remembered, I mean, we got 316 amp hours so far. All right, should be any moment now. We're at 322 amp hours, 16.1 kilowatt hour. Not bad for roughly 200 amps the entire way down. We're at 41 volts. It's gonna shut off like any second. There it goes. So for this test, if it is accurate, we got 323 amp hours or 16.1 kilowatt hour, which is fan-freaking-tastic in my opinion, because we ran roughly 200 amps the entire way down to 0. Alrighty, there we go. Battery capacity test complete and full send of 200 amps all the way down to 0% state of charge. Complete on Mrs. Average Joe's DIY Yixiang battery box right here. As I've said a couple times probably in this video, this is literally the biggest battery incapacity that we have at our house right now, and it's hers. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap it up for this video because I'm sure it's gone on long enough, and if I have any sort of like final thoughts, at least for this battery right now, is it would be the JK-BMS. I like the BMS a lot. I think it's just the app and how it displays everything on the screen and the settings. I'm just not used to it yet. This is the very first battery that I've had that's had a JK-BMS inside. So it is going to take a little time for me to get used to looking at that screen. That's pretty much my only really complaint, and it's not really a complaint, it's just because I'm new. That's pretty much it. Other than that, what I will probably do with this next is incorporate it into my battery bank here. I'll probably disconnect a few over here so I don't have just a ridiculously giant battery, because I won't really be able to cycle it unless I shut off the solar and we just run for like days and days, and then I attempt to charge it back up. So if I could keep the battery capacity maybe anywhere from 100 to 150 kilowatt hour, that would be a good number for me at my house. That could actually change here in just a little bit in summertime, but we will find out. All right, well, that's pretty much it. If anybody is looking for the DIY Yixiang battery box, you can actually get this with a couple of different batteries. The ones that came in here, like I've said, are the Cornix brand cells, and they're really good cells. They are actually in the AUSC batteries over here, which you can't really see. And I haven't had any problems with those, and I've been cycling those for a couple of months now. 0 issues. So I know the Cornix brand is a pretty good cell. But like I said, you could order whatever cell you want and build your own DIY battery box for a lot cheaper than, you know, most of these other pre-built batteries. This one around here is like 18 to 1900. You know, it comes with basically a fully built box, and you pull all the guts out, you put in your cells, and then put all the guts back in, and you're pretty much done. All right, that's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know down in the comment section. If there's something else that you would like to see me do with this battery, of course, make sure you put those comments down there as well. And lastly, if this video was helpful in any way possible, make sure you like that smash button on your way out, and I will see you on the next. Not sure why it keeps putting my volume in there, but that's what it was. Yeah, if I can take a picture of that with the volume, apparently. All right. All right, the next thing is, I don't even know how to start this video, and I didn't really even want to put it on video, but all right, so Lauren and I do not have kids, we have cats. Cats have been a big part of our lives for the past, I don't know, 25 years or so. We don't treat them as, you know, like a cat that's off in the dark room in the basement. We include them in basically everything that we do inside the house, you know, for the most part. So our cats are always around, they're always hanging out with us, they're always doing stuff with us. And if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I pretty much have a cat in almost every single video. And one of those cats would have been Horus. He has been in a good 75% of my videos, basically from the start of me doing videos back in, like, I don't know, whenever I started doing battery videos. I'm just gonna say this real quick so I can get it out of the way. Over the past 6 or 7 months, Horus was having some health problems, okay? He just wasn't really eating very much, and he wasn't drinking very much. We noticed kind of like a lot of weight loss. For him, actually, it was okay because he was such a big cat. Anyway, back in January, we took him to the vet to get a checkup, blood drawn, you know, all that kind of stuff. Everything turned out to be okay. Blood tests were okay. You know, everything was basically fine. He was just losing weight and not eating or drinking. Okay, we were just supposed to kind of continue to monitor and then, you know, report back. And then March comes around and he starts just not eating and drinking at all. We kind of resorted down to force feeding him and then giving him water through like a dropper, stuff like that, just so we can make sure he was eating and drinking. That didn't really go very well because he just started puking everything up. So on March 6th, we were a little more concerned, so I did take him out to the vet again, and then this time they were gonna do some scans to figure out if anything else was wrong internally. I do have to report back that the scans were not good at all. They found that he had a large mass in his colon, which turned out to be colon cancer, and also from that mess, his intestines were leaking into his stomach, which I guess is probably causing him to puke, you know, every time he would eat or drink. Anyway, all of that was really, really bad news, and the vet called us back and said he really doesn't have long left to live. So we rushed back to the vet and then hung out with him for the last couple hours of his life. He passed away on Friday, March 6th, around 3:45 p.m., which sucks. If you're not aware, he was almost 14 years old. We got him actually out of the neighbor's yard. He was basically this big where you could hold him in your hand. We bottle fed him. You know, he grew up to be an amazing cat, and he will be missed.
What are you doing? Are you excited? Are you excited? Come here. Oh.
What are you doing under there? You hiding? Going to sleep?